Welcome to Watch Symposium. I'm Austin. This is the third custom video for Robin. If you haven't seen part 1 and part 2, links in the description. In part 1, we looked at his chronograph and his Rolex three-hander. In part 2, we looked at his F-off watch, what he wears around all those pompous LA types where he lives. And in this video, we're gonna look at the first of his trio of pre-ceramic GMT function watches. And I actually made this video before and I talked about all three of those watches. It was a 45-minute long video and I thought, man, I don't want to edit that, and you guys don't want to watch a 40+ minute video. So I'm going to talk about each of these watches in a separate video. It'll make it more manageable for you guys to watch, a little bit more fun and not so cumbersome as a 40+ minute video. So talking about the GMT function, that is Robin's favorite complication, and he was turned on to it by that watch we talked about in the second video, the Sky Dweller. And remember, he wrote, I realized that the GMT function is my favorite complication, so that determined the next three watches, which I think of as siblings to that Sky Dweller. And as you guys know, the GMT function is my favorite function as well. I mean, it's super useful for traveling. It's got that character and persona of the explorer, the adventurer. And even if you're just using it at home to track another time zone, it's fun. It sort of takes your consciousness to that area of the world. And then there's the aesthetics, the, as I call it, freakish fourth hand, which I think is so interesting and cool. And you show that to people, you say, look, there's a fourth hand on this watch, and it always intrigues people. They're like, what does that do? That's really weird. Explain that. And I love them. And so that's my favorite complication as well, Robin. All right, so the first in this pre-ceramic trio of GMT function watches is the 16710 GMT-Master II. I'm wearing one right here. And he notes he has several combinations. And what he's talking about is the different bezel inserts and the different bracelets you can get for this watch, and we'll talk about that. Now you can see in this picture he's got it on a Jubilee bracelet and a Coke insert, and that's my favorite configuration. Now this is a no-holes case watch, and he notes that all of these pre-ceramic watches are no-holes cases, and all of them have the 3185 caliber movement. He says, I wanted the no-holes cases because I prefer the look. They are newer and there are less of them. And I'm not really sure about production numbers. That could be the case, but a lot of people just like the aesthetics and the clean look of the no-holes cases. For me, I like both. I think they both look attractive. I do like the tool watch aesthetic of the holes cases, but for me, it's always been about the practicality of being able to use a wooden toothpick to take off the bracelet and to put it back on and be able to see that the spring bars are perfectly seated. Here in Japan, the later versions, you know, the solid and link bracelets and the no-holes cases go for a slight premium, so they're more desirable here in Japan. They like the newer things here. All right, so he mentions that this has the 3185 movement, and that has the Nivarox hairspring, of course, towards the end of the run of the 16710s. During the last of the Z serials and M serials, they started using the 3186 movement with the blue parachrome spring. Such a short production run for those, you know, just the M's and the later Z serials, that there are not many of those 3186 movement GMT-Master IIs. They're highly collectible. $25,000 plus, right? All right, looking at this 16710 in detail, it's a Y serial, and Y serials were produced in 2001 and 2002. It apparently was born a Pepsi, and he notes that the tags are dated 2004. So I guess it sat around an authorized dealer for, you know, a year and a half before it sold, back when, you know, you could find these steel professional models at the ADs and maybe even get a discount. And again, this is a watch with a no-holes case, and they started filling in the holes, or I guess a better way to put it is not drilling all the way through during the Y serial. So early Y serials from 2001 have the holes cases, and the later Ys have the the no holes cases. So this would probably be a 2002, a later Y. And yeah, and then it sat around again for a couple years before it sold in 2004. This came with a newer Pepsi bezel and a faded Pepsi bezel, and you can see them right here. He says maybe the faded bezel insert is fat font serifed bezel insert. It looks to be, and that was probably the original bezel insert. And they changed the bezel inserts around the Y serials too, along with the introduction of the holes, or no holes cases, I should say. They started using inserts with the thin font sans serifs. All right, and so basically, roughly 2001 and before, the inserts on a GMT-Master II should have the fat font and the serifs, and 2002 and later should have the thin font sans serifed bezel inserts. Now, his is probably a 2002, yet it has the earlier insert, but of course they didn't change over all of these things at one time. They used up parts, and so it's completely normal that this would have the earlier insert, and it's kind of a cool thing that it has the earlier fat font serifed insert. All right, but if you're looking at, for example, a D serial from 2005 or 2006, it's not going to have the fat font serifed insert. It's going to have that newer thin font sans serif insert. All right. And as far as that newer insert, the one you see right there in the middle, that looks like the font style on the straight GMTs, to be honest. I'm not sure where that came from, or if that was like a service insert. I'm not really sure about the story on that insert, but it doesn't look like a contemporary service insert, and it has to do with the thickness of the characters. And I'm not talking about the actual lines there. I'm talking about the thickness of the two. The current service inserts, like I have right here, have, and look at the two, the character is thinner, okay? Not the line, the character. And with this, the character is a bit fatter, okay? And also, the two, you know, a two is shaped like this. Well, this part of the two really points down, and that's something that you see a lot of on the straight GMTs. And so at that time, maybe there was some stock of old straight GMT inserts, and this was added as sort of a service insert. So anyway, a lot of nuances with these inserts, but he's got a few of them, so that's great. And of course, he has this right now on the configuration I have with the Coke, and he's also got the original Oyster bracelet. He says, I added a Coke bezel and a new Jubilee bracelet purchased from RSC in Los Angeles. The RSC also did a watch analysis, which basically confirmed the watch's authenticity. He says the Jubilee bracelet is new old stock, serial OP12, and that dates it to December 2006. Very interesting, because there are codes on the clasp that allow you to date the bracelets. And I've never dated mine. I got mine about 2019. The head's 20 years old. So there would be some mismatch if you were trying to sell this. It'd say, well, you know, it wasn't born with this bracelet. This is a later bracelet, which may or may not affect the value. Probably it would affect the value. And so his apparently is from 2006. It's interesting. I don't know if they have sort of a stock of these that are already made, and maybe when those run out, are they going to make more or not? And you know, as RSCs around the world order these Jubilee bracelets for these 5-digit GMTs, you know, do they send these bracelets that perhaps were made a decade ago? Maybe, I'm not sure. I should date the bracelet on here to see, right? I mean, I've been walking around assuming it would say 2019, but I'm not sure. He says, talking about the dating of this bracelet, it is of a contemporary age to the watch, which is a nice touch. Kind of. I mean, my head is 20 years old. My bracelet's brand new. His bracelet's from 2006. His head is from at the latest 2002. So it's a bit off, but closer than mine for sure. He says, this gives me, talking about all these different inserts and bracelet options, 6 wearing options, which make it a very versatile watch. I like the Coke Jubilee combination the most. Me too. I love the Jubilee. It's so light and comfortable. And as far as the insert goes, yeah, I mean, I vacillate. I like them all, but the black, the all black is the most subtle. And I really, truly like the all black, but it doesn't have any of that nice color to it. And so a little bit less subtle, but worth it, I think, is the Coke. And you get that beautiful red. And of course there's the Pepsi, which I think is a little bit, it can be a little bit much, a little too colorful, but that blue is beautiful. And I like them all. I find it really hard to choose, but if I had to make a choice and wear one forever, honestly, I don't know. I've told you guys that I'd wear the Coke. The Coke would be it, but I'd never get that blue, that anodized aluminum blue. I'd miss it forever. So I might say I would go Pepsi, and I'd just, yeah, it would be loud, it would be bright, but I'd man up and I'd do it for the blue, all right? But it's a tough choice. All right, and what else does he say about it? That's all he says about it, and it's a great watch, and it's my favorite watch, period. I mean, it's my favorite Rolex, and it's my favorite watch, period. And it's there's so many functions in it: the GMT, the rotating bezel, the date, and he touches on the different looks that it has. It's a perfect watch for a one-watch guy because you can keep it authentic. You don't have to, rely on NATO straps to give it different looks. But you can keep it authentic, but then drastically change the looks, and it is very satisfying. Being a one-watch guy is hard, and finding that satisfaction can be difficult, but you are able to do things like have the bezel inserts changed out and have the different bracelet option of the Oyster and the Jubilee. So thumbs up for this one. And there you go. And we'll go into watch number 4, it would be, in this 3-part pre-ceramic trilogy. Until then, let him know what you think about his Y serial and any insight on the inserts. Yeah, his insert that he has on it now is just like mine. It's a service insert, and I'm not sure if you have, Robin, the all black, but I think that would be the next step, getting the all black and getting all 3 of those. Let him know what you think. Take care. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. We'll talk about the next GMT function pre-ceramic watch. See you next time.